Today I'm going to be making a traditional Belizean soup, Seree. You're watching the Bear Pantry Show. So these are the ingredients that we're going to need to make our Seree. Seree is a soup, but it actually reminds me a lot of the boil-up dinner that I already have at the site. So we're going to be using some cassava or yuca, and I'm using the frozen one because I happen to have some, and it makes it easier too. I don't have to peel it and stuff. And I've got just a basic potato. I've got taro right here, or cocoa, as you may know it. And I'm only putting a little bit of that because I'm not a great fan of that. Joe's going to eat that. I have a green plantain, half of an onion diced, and a can of coconut milk. And our main ingredient in this, along with these carbs, is fish. And it's going to be a snapper. I had Joe go to the fish market and they cleaned out the inside, descaled it, cut it in 3, but we still have a little bit more prep to do before we put this in the soup. But just want you to know that's going to be our form of protein. And I wanted to show you that some Belizeans might even put what we call a turn plantain. And what it means is it's turning from unripened to ripened. But I don't want to put that because I've tasted that in the soup before and it really changes the flavor of the soup. It makes it more sweet. And I don't want this to be sweeter than what the coconut milk will do to it already. So the last thing that we're going to need is a big soup pot, okay? And of course, Belizeans put a lot more things in their Seree. They might even put the boiled cake and stuff. You know, I try to keep things simple here and I change it according to what pleases me. And so basically this is all we're going to need to make Seree. And now we're going to move over to the stove. So you know that I try to make things simple all the time, right? I'm not going to saute the onion in a little bit of butter and all that mess. You can do that, of course. I just put just plain old water to halfway in this big pot, and I'm going to add my diced onions, you know, because I don't necessarily care if they're brown or not. Add my diced onions, and then as Joe peels my potato, my taro, we kind of want to put them all in together with the cassava, okay? So as soon as we get those peeled and the onions will have a little time to cook in there, we're going to add these grown foods so they can start cooking. Okay, so I finally got Joe in here to help me. I'm going to put the camera on him in a little while to show what he's doing with the fish, but in the meanwhile, I'm putting a half of the potato, the next half, this is the cassava or the yuca, and I'm not going to cut that, it's frozen, and these are the 2 little taros. So it's not going to be a whole lot. If you're feeding a big family, this is just going to be for me and Joe. If you're feeding a big family, you're going to want to put more of those pieces in there. And for people who monitor their carbs, you know, you kind of really want to watch this because, well, not watch this. This is one of the good meals if you're monitoring your carbs because these are the good carbs. They're the slow acting carbs, okay? So these are going to take a little while to cook. And we're going to be testing them with that 2-prong fork or that serving fork. So we're going to put the plantains in a little while. I'll tell you more or less, maybe 10-15 minutes into while this is cooking. In the meanwhile, let's move over to see what Joe's doing with the fish. Right, so this is what Joe's doing. He's just cutting a lemon in half and he's got the 3 pieces of fish in that little bowl. And he's going to clean it. And you could use lime for this too, guys. I don't like using the vinegar so much to clean the fish like I do with the chicken. Because, like, again, it's a taste thing. I love doing the lime or the lemon with the fish. So now Joe's going to go with his knife. And he's going to do some finer cleaning that the guys at the fish market didn't do. So you kind of want to go in there. And you guys always hear me tell the funny story of when I tried to do fish for the first time for Joe. And I didn't even know the gill was on the inside. And I fried the whole fish with the gill on the inside. Joe just wanted to die. He took the whole thing and threw it in the trash. So anyways, he's cleaning out the extra stuff. There's no scale on it as far as we know. So he's washing out all that blood that was strangled within it. So this is what you want to do. Get your meats really clean and you won't get sick from the meats, okay? Let me see if I can pan up and show you. We've got a little peeping Tom out of the window there. You see that black thing in the window moving? That's Willow. See? That's Willow peeking in the window saying, I want me some of that food. Let's go back down to Joe. And so here he is. Let's move back over the counter and see what he does next. Okay, so let's watch Joe. And as usual, he's putting those little slices or some type of scoring in there. And he does that because he wants the spices to go in there. Normally he'll do that when we're frying the fish because he wants it to fry more quickly. But this fish is not going to be fried, okay? It's totally going to be cooked in the soup. And this is why I like this dinner more than I like some of the other foods, because I don't really like fried fish. You know, don't get me wrong, I like fried foods. I just don't like fried fish. So you see how he almost dropped my fish on the floor? What a bad cook. So he's putting his salt and pepper, and you know how he does his stuff. He always mixes the salt and the pepper on the counter. Of course, you can mix that in a little dish somewhere. So he's putting it on the counter there. He's going to put his black pepper. You guys notice what all I put my black pepper in this original cookie pan. Let me get it out the way. You can see, and he's just mixing it so he can have an even blend. So move that in a little bit so I can give you a tight shot. And that's all he's doing, putting the salt on the inside of the fish, on the outside in those little cuts that he put in the fish. And we're going to put this fish in, I would say, let me check my recipe book, guys. You know, I do use my book, right? It says that I'm supposed to let it cook, let whatever we're cooking cook for 30 minutes first. Then we're going to put the fish in towards the end, allow that to cook for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. Because the fish is going to cook way more quickly because it's a tender meat, right? So as you can see so far, the fish is ready now. It's going to sit there and marinate. I've got my coconut milk. I still have my plantain unpeeled because over there I've got my pot going with those carbs in it. Those wonderful carbs. By the way, you see the leftover salt and pepper that Joe has on the counter? That's not going to be wasted because we're going to put that in the soup when we start seasoning up the soup, okay? And because normally we'll be adding salt and pepper anyway, so I'm not going to throw that away. I'm going to scrape that in a little saucer or dish or tea plate and just keep it off to the side for when I'm ready to put it in the pot. So let me move the camera back over to my pot and see what's going on. Okay, so about 5 minutes or so after I put my pot on while Joe was doing the fish, I got the green plantains peeled and diced, see, like that piece. And I put it in here because I realized the plantains are not ripe, they're green, so they kind of want to go in, if not with the other carbs, kind of like shortly after. So I put it in because I realized that the cassava or the yuca is going to cook pretty fast. So the pot's been going a good 10 minutes, I would say. We just want all those good carbs to cook, those good ground foods to cook until they're soft but not mushy. In the meanwhile, I've got my fish going that Joe seasoned up for me. The coconut milk's open. I've got the leftover salt. And while I watch this cook for the next 15 minutes or so, what I'm going to be doing is making some plain old white rice. That's why I put that recipe at the side already, because, you know, certain things just need plain white rice. And I'm going to make some plain white rice to go along with this dinner because this is the way this dinner is traditionally served. So I'll check back with you guys in about 10-15 minutes, okay? Okay, so it's not quite 10 minutes. Like I told you, I would check back, but I turned back on the camera because I want to show you. See this foamy stuff that's coming here? If you walk away from the spot and go do something, you might run the risk that it'll foam up and start boiling over. And remember what I taught you guys about the foam thing. At first I thought it had to be some type of a metallic type utensil that you have to set in the pot to quiet it down to make that foam not boil over, but it's anything. As long as you put something in there to disturb it, it'll simmer it down and not let it boil over. So you kind of want to stay here and watch. And I remember now that's why I don't put the coconut milk in right away, because that tends to make it foam up even more. So if you had put the coconut milk in right at the start, you wouldn't have messed up your dinner by any means, but you want to try to control. I don't like cleaning the stove. I know you guys have heard me complain about that time and time again. I love this beautiful stove that Joe bought for me shortly after I started the show, but I'm the only one that seems to care about how it looks and clean it and stuff. And I hate when things boil over, because that's the worst thing to clean off of a black surface, is that water stain that's boiled over. So you kind of want to stay here and watch this. And it's really and truly right at about 15 minutes and those ground foods are feeling soft. So here I am. Ooh, look how beautiful and rich this coconut milk looks. Isn't that gorgeous? The pot is hot, by the way, you guys. Let me go higher. It's real hot because I have the fire up on high. Oh, and I forgot to tell you guys that too. Put the fire up on high, all right? Because you're cooking soup. You want it to boil. And I'm going to go put my fish, see? Totally unfried, uncooked. We want to set it in the pot because we don't want all that grown food to get too done. And so now this is what I test the grown food with. I call it my two-pronged fork, or as everyone may know it as, the serving fork. And I just kind of poke around in there and kind of go through it. See? It went through that potato real easy. So we don't want it to start getting cooked away in there and mushy. So basically we want that to cook, to just allow the cook the fish, sorry, I'm talking backwards today, to just allow the fish to cook, which is only going to take 10 or 15 minutes, you guys. If you hear another pot bubbling, it's my rice. Remember I told you that we cook this with white rice? It's my rice cooking. And so back to our soup. Doesn't it look beautiful? This is a wonderful, I guess you could call this coconut milk soup too, huh? You want to name it something different? But we don't want to start messing around in here too much and start mushing away these grown foods that's in there. At this point, you would want to add your boiled cake too if you're putting boiled cake, okay? But I'm not going to do that. And I'm just going to allow this to cook for a little bit to let the fish really intermingle good with the soup. And then I'm going to add the salt and pepper because, you know, the fish comes with built-in salt, right? So, but see how pretty this soup is? This is a gorgeous white milky soup. It smells beautiful and it's going to taste awesome. My kids don't like this because they like fried fish rather than this type of fish, but I love fish like this. And if I weren't doing this for the Bear Pantry show and I wanted to keep it as authentic as I can, I would have put salmon in this because that's my favorite fish of all times. So, see you guys in about 10 minutes. Let's allow this to cook for a little bit. Let me go tend to my rice, okay? So it's been about 10 minutes since I put the fish in. Let's see if we can find a piece of it, see? It's looking pretty good. It's looking cooked. I'm going to let it go for another 5 minutes, but I wanted to taste first. And you guys remember how I taste, right? I put it in a little bowl. I taste all fancy because I don't want to put the spoon in my mouth and put it back in there, especially in flu season. Are you kidding me? Plus, I never know when somebody might stop by and I could share some of this with them, even though I only plan on me and Joe eating this. Somebody could come by and want some, and then I would have already injected my germs into it, right? Okay, so it's tasting pretty decent, but I still think we need like a pinch more black pepper. Not too much because I don't want it to choke us when we eat it, right? Because it's too hot. And a little bit of salt. And remember, I put that leftover salt and pepper that Joe had on the counter. I already put that in before I tasted it just now, and then I added more, okay? Here's our plantain. Look how beautiful that's looking. And let me get my fork to see if I can test it to see how this is coming. So, let's see. It's giving me a little bit of difficulty to go through there. So we want that to go for a little bit more. So I would say 5 more minutes. Let me test the taro. I saw the taro coming just now. See, that's the taro, the cocoa. Oh, that's done. So the only thing we're waiting on, a little bit extra, is the fish and the green plantain. And then pretty much this dish is done. Oh, let me taste it one more time. I think that was good what I put in there just now, but I want to taste again. So, no, that's just perfect. You know, this is my mom's favorite meal. If she doesn't have time to make it, she'll buy it from somebody in the street. She'll buy it from one of the Belize restaurants down there near LA. So this is Seree, Belizean Sere. So when I come back again, I'm going to be showing you guys the finished product. So here we have our soup piping hot off of the stove. This is our finished product. We've got our green plantains, potato, the taro, the cocoa, the yuca, the cassava. This is the tail of the fish, and it's just really submerged in that white milky soup. Of course, like I told you, we serve it with white rice. Most of the time, Belize people will put the rice in a plate and then take a soup spoon and just kind of like dip this soup over the rice. I like to put the rice inside everything that I do. And if you notice, we don't thicken this with flour. This is one of the soups that will not use flour. The green plantains did take a while to cook, so if I were to do this again, I would put everything in at the same time when we first start and not give the other ground food a head start over the green plantain, okay? So basically, there you have it, Belizean Sere. Enjoy. Okay, so as you can see, we have to put the green plantains in right away with all the other ground foods to allow it to cook in even time like the rest of it. The fish is the only thing that takes about 10 to 15 minutes to cook, okay? Everything else pretty much cooks within like a half hour. I hope you guys try this. You know, when I was a little kid, I didn't like Seree too much because I didn't like all those ground foods. But you know, I've grown up and my taste buds are different now, and I actually have such an appreciation for traditional Belizean food. I hope you guys try this. Tell me how it comes out. It's real spicy and milky. It tastes so good, you guys. Thank you so much for watching the show, for subscribing, for picking up the book. And by the way, this recipe is in my cookbook that I'm selling right now. And thank you guys so much for sharing the show with your friends and family and for supporting me. Until I see you again, take care.